In a world that sees you as ordinary, plain, or just average, know that at home, to the ones that call you dad, you can be seen as so much more. Even like a superhero. This is Ordinary Dad.
So we breathe in stuff all the time, but normally our body clears it and it doesn't affect us. The CF patient, when they breathe it in, it sticks there and it just starts growing. So we have to do, and from day one, we had to do treatments for Pippa to beat her chest and help break that mucus up to get out of her system. Now she has a little vest that has tubes, and we turn it on and just.
You named it, right?
Right. Yeah, Celeste the Vest.
Celeste the Vest.
Yeah, Celeste the Vest. And she got a stuffed bear with a little vest, and her name's Bernadette, which I didn't realize that Bernadette means brave bear in German. Nice. And so I was like, okay,
brave bear.
It's my wife. It's my wife. Did all that.
So credit where it's due.
Yeah. So that was on day one. As far as the digestive tract stuff, we found out a few days after that Pippa has pancreatic insufficiency, which basically means that the mucus has plugged all of her pancreatic ducts. So normally enzymes, your pancreas makes enzymes to help digest your food. Pippa's enzymes don't get to her digestive tract because all those ducts are plugged with mucus. So she has to take supplemental enzymes at every bottle feeding, every meal. You have to put applesauce, pour out the contents of the mucus. And so that was, we knew that was going to start from day one, pretty much. But what was even scarier was that instead of having the meconium stuck, where some CF patients have to have it surgically removed, she had passed it, but had aspirated and breathed it. So it was basically coating her lungs. And it was wow. So she was starting. So she spent the first 2 days in the nursery in the hospital. Luckily, because they were able to not only help clear her lungs, but give her oxygen there, and her lungs started to kind of come back. She didn't have to go to the NICU, which was an amazing thing. But we didn't get to see her and really hold her. I've got pictures of her laid out on a table for the first 2 days of her life. I feeding tube in and having everything. So it was rough because it wasn't the normal here's your baby. It was, here's your baby. Oh, she's turning blue. We need to take her away. We'll let you know what's happening. So it was joyful. It was scary.
Yeah. So on top of that, too, obviously now time goes by and you guys finally get to bring her home. So you're going home, which I can remember personally. I remember when just putting it in the car seat, you're like, it's crazy what goes through your head initially.
Honestly, it was.
Am I doing this right?
No, I was like, why would they let her bring us home? We have no idea what we're doing. There's no, I know every parent goes through this, but it was figure it out.
Maybe different. Yeah.
Figure it out.
Right. Well, that's the thing. When you're in the hospital, it's like, okay, I'm not sure about this nurse.
Yeah,
and then the nurse comes in. Now you're home.
Yeah. But this was when she was born, it's in the pandemic, right? So.
And we have no family here. All of our family are back in Oklahoma, so no one could come over because of the pandemic. And it was my wife and I. So my wife is recovering. I'm trying to take care of Pippa as much as possible, and there are obviously some things I can't do. So I'm like, okay, wife, here you go. It's your turn. And so it was a process.
To just wrap around. Like I said, too, that's so much sleep, too. As parents, when you first bring your kid home in general, there's so much stuff that goes through the back of your mind.
It's crazy.
You're sitting there and you're like, I am now, this thing is my responsibility. And sometimes you look at it and you're like, I'm actually being trusted with this.
No, that's a great skill you want to read. Dad, because you add the stress level to it, you add the sleep level to it. That's going on, and being able to process and just focus.
You had other things too.
Yeah. So in the first 2 weeks of her life, we had a lot of medical appointments. So we've got a great team. So the cystic fibrosis is handled by the pulmonology department, the lung department at Connecticut Children's. So we were able to meet with them via Zoom before Pippa was born. And so when Pippa was born, we basically just called them up and said, "Baby's here. Let's do the thing." And so they got her in, and it was really cool because as a preventative, even before we ever met them, they called and said, "Let's go ahead and get your enzymes going. Let's go ahead and get these things going. That way you guys are." And I told them, I was like, "I don't care what you guys do. I'm going to give my daughter the best fighting chance to beat this thing that she has." From day one. And so, like day 2, we started enzymes. So day 2 after we got doing, we started enzymes. So, so she's like 5-6 days old. Taking pills apart and get her and trying to give a 5-day-old applesauce is like really hard because they don't have the swallowing mechanism, and it was like, "I know you're gagging, but you need to swallow that," and it's like really, really hard.
So I've heard you say on several different occasions, and just speaking about it, because you're very open about it, which is awesome. That this is something that you don't want to define your daughter by any means. Like this is it's something she has, but this isn't going to be no. She's going to have the best that we can do with everything. So overall, what are your hopes for them? What are you? It's different right now, obviously, because you're dealing with Europe, but so you obviously you look to the future with things too.
One of the things that I had, and I'm going to use a quote from Garth Brooks here.
Yes. Nice.
I just watched a documentary from Garth Brooks. He says, "For every blessing," he does it like this: for every blessing, there's also a curse. So in that, just kind of that idea of the two sides of the same coin, it was hard for us to walk through the CF diagnosis. But the flip side of that coin is, it didn't take me long to let my dreams for that little girl die. And to put her in God's hands and say, "God, whatever you want for her is what needs to happen." I think for some parents it takes a while. I don't know if it's teenage crisis that gets them there finally. I don't know if it's rebellion. I don't know if it's whatever. But when you have a kid that's born with an uncurable, progressive disease, and you very quickly get to the point where you go, "Man, I really don't know how this is going to work out." So we're going to focus on today, and we're going to be the best parents that we can be for her today. We're going to do our treatments today, and it really does put you in a perspective of, I really do have hopes for her. She is crazy, but more than that, I want her to not miss listening to things. So I have no idea what my hopes long term for her would be. Our prayer every night before we put her to bed is that Jesus would save her early, that she really wouldn't know a day without him, and that there would be a cure for CF. Those are the two things we pray for every single day. The rest of it, as far as is she? And I've often thought, okay, God, it would be really cool if she loved golf like I do, or it'd be really cool if she's musical. And it's funny, I was learning a new song that we were going to play in church, and I'm like our backup drummer in church, and so I put it on my phone, and it was a drum tutorial video for Phil Wiccan's new song House of the Lord, and so I was playing it, and she was looking at it and studying. And I was like, she's gonna be a drummer. Perfect. I'm like, okay. So I don't know what all that's gonna work out, and I'm just gonna keep watching and just say, "Girl, you can't do whatever you want. It's you may have a harder path at it than some other kids might have, but man, there's CF kids that are marathoners. There's a CF kid that does cycling and Rocky Mountains. I'm like,
my buddy's girlfriend has CF, and she just had a kid.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
It's crazy. I work with a guy who has CF. He's 45, 25. Like he's taking names. It's awesome.
Yeah, they can. CF patients now are able to do a lot of different things. It's just sometimes harder.
Yeah, definitely. I love your perspective though. Like one day at a time. I feel like for today, I was a
small
younger
has its
parent.
own
Yeah.
little things, you know?
Like it's just that you miss a lot of days as a parent. That's how I feel. You know what I mean? It's like man, I'm gonna get out of the stage. You guys are in it like every day.
We still have that.
Enjoy.
She's teething. Like
Oh,
she's got her 2 bottom teeth
my
now,
goodness,
and
yeah.
so I'm like,
Yeah.
I could just fast forward through all this.
Oh, my
That'd be just fine.
I love it.
But yeah.
How has this is kind of a bigger question? How has Pippa affected your preaching?
Yeah.
Like, are you the dad now? Who's like, I got a store, got this one.
I have done that in the past.
Yep.
I've actually pulled back away from that some though, because I want her to like not walk into church, and I knew that if I kept doing it, I was like, I'm gonna get in the habit of doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't want her to walk into church and think, what stories to act with.
That's any pass you spin.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome.
Yeah. So I always ask my wife to use her as an illustration. So eventually it'll get to the point where, hey, Pip, can I tell people about that happened? And let her make the decision. And my illustrations don't live or die by my relationship with my daughter. But it has changed. It has helped me in the fact that I understand things theologically different now that I'm a dad. Like, I never understood about the Father of God before I became a dad. And it's just, knowing how much I love that little girl. And I'm like, God, you love her more. That is insane to me.
All about the Father.
That is insane to me.
Yeah.
So, because I know how much I love her. I know how much I would go through for her. And, like, we've got a medical appointment tomorrow, so, like, I'm literally going to have a thermos of hot water so I can warm a bottle. And we're going to feed her in the car before we go into the thing. And, like, all these different things, I'm like, all this stuff that you do that you never in your life would have dreamed, like, yeah, I've got a diaper bag,
I can remember, and I'm sure you probably remember things like this too, like when they're younger, especially too, and everyone says too, it's so different from first kid, second kid, you see like those different things but I can remember like we spent the night at my father-in-law's wedding, went up there. The amount of stuff we had for one day, like I think we even bought, was it like the diaper genie thing, so that we didn't have to smell the poop diaper, like we brought everything. It's like taxing.
We have to when we go to Hartford for medical appointments. We have to take Ziploc bags. That's how because they're like, yeah, we don't want to smell the diapers on our cars.
All right.
So it's your children's house.
Yeah, right.
This is the true smell of a child.
I love it. Kind of moving to like, what advice would you have for parents who just got that same phone call?
I would repeat that don't Google it thing.
Foundation.
Yeah, go to the foundation, learn from the foundation. I think the best advice I would give is keep your head above water. So I learned long ago through the death of my mom that grief, no matter what kind of grief it is, whether it's when we found out Pip had CF, we grieved not because of a disease, but we grieved the life that we thought we would have for
The death of a tree almost.
Yeah. So grief is like a rip current in an ocean. I had never really been around an ocean when my mom died. My counselor actually gave me this illustration. He said, man, when you get caught up in a rip current, the worst thing that you can do is fight it. Because you will wear yourself out and you will drown. But what you need to do is when you find yourself in a rip current, just simply tread water. Just keep your head above water. Stay breathing. Because eventually that rip current is going to take you out to sea, and you'll get caught up in another current that takes you back to shore. And he said eventually what's going to happen is you're going to be back on the shore in a completely different place than where you left, but you're going to be where God wants you. And I was like, also not like to do that's so. If I were going to tell anybody that gets a phone call that says your kid has CF, your kid is going to be born with sickle cell anemia, your kid is going to be born with Down syndrome, your kid is going to be born with cerebral palsy, your kid is going to be born with, and you name all these different genetic diseases, keep your head above water. It's going to take you, like that grief and that journey is going to take you where you never thought you would be. But you are going to be right where God wants you. Because ultimately, He is in control over that baby. And He loves you, He loves your baby, He loves your wife. And you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And so,
That's awesome.
I think that's the thing that I would tell them to do. Eventually, once our little girl gets a little bit older and we're not chasing her around everywhere, my wife and I hope that we have enough experience with that. That's another thing that we do.
And that's really ultimately too. Like that's a reason why we want to sit down and have this conversation with you for this. So that way, like you're starting that work right now. Like I mean, you put it out there anyway. But like that's why we're sitting down and we want to put this out there for people because the whole thing I said that we can interview about Tim's dad before too, and with that whole thing, no one should feel like they're alone in these different situations.
Yeah.
And to sit here and listen to your story and listen to everything that you have going on, and that encouragement of grief and that encouragement of no, listen, you're where you need to be. Keep your head above water. Like that's something like. Yeah, you're still running around right now, but you're doing it right now too, and we're glad that you're able to do that for us.
CF itself is it's so rare, and it's like out of the millions of babies born every year, less than 700 of them or 800 of them will be born with CF. And in the United States alone, adults included, there are less than 30,000 people in the entire U.S. that have CF. Yeah.
Really thinking about it in one small area.
You would never want to put them in one state.
No.
They can't be within 6 feet of one another.
That's fair. That's fair.
That whole social distancing thing.
Old world.
Yeah, right.
But,
no, you can though. Just in your mind, just think about that. Like Gillette Stadium. You fit everybody that has CF in the United States in Gillette Stadium.
It's such like a small area.
Yeah. That's crazy when you talk about like God's sovereignty too. You know what I mean? Like how He knows each one of these babies. Like, I think it's just awesome you and your wife what you do and you guys.
Yeah. And that's what people told us. They're like, God gave you that kid because He knew that you'd be able to handle it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wish He didn't. But no,
our plan isn't His.
Yeah, so, absolutely. And we're just knowing, she's our daughter. We love her. It's a blessing.
So with all of this now and everything you guys have experienced and everything you've done and the plan that He's put forth for you now, would you guys even still be considering having another child? Are you guys kind of like not sure, or is it one of those things where if it happens, it happens?
No, we have ruled out the biological children at this point through various means. And, so that's for us. It was a thing where we took it up as we were praying about it. We said we have one kid that has a genetic mutation. We still carry that genetic mutation, and so whether it's moving forward with a carrier, moving forward with another kid with CF, we really had to look at and go, okay, what would that do for our family's spiritual health, our family's emotional health? Let's say we did hit the genetic lottery again. Because really that's kind of what happened is genetic lottery, roll the dice, and there it is, there's a kid with CF. And so we just decided for our family, for our emotional health, for our spiritual health, and really for us to be able to focus on Pippa's health, we just didn't think that was wise. So definitely what we're pursuing now is looking forward for adoption. And say, God has a heart there for adoption as well. So our family isn't done, it's just done biologically. So, yeah.
That's great. That's great.
And that's-
too.
Yeah, and that's not every, there are some people that we're connected to online in Facebook groups and different things that, they're saying it's not a big deal. We'll have kids. They're like, yeah, we have 4 kids, only one has CF. And I'm like, that's great for you.
Yeah, that's for them.
But
your
Each family is individual. Like that's everyone's different.
Yeah, for us, that was a decision we decided to make. And right now we're super content. Like Pippa's, she's a joy. She's pretty healthy.
Yeah.
A lot. There's some things like with her weight right now, we've got to figure out some enzyme dosages. One of the things that when she becomes an adult, she will have to have 3,000 calories a day to maintain. Just to maintain. Normally that's 1,500 to 2,000 to maintain. I know females are less, 15 to 17. They can maintain her weight around there. She's going to have to eat like a truck, like a grown man, and she'll put anything and everything in her mouth. It's high fat, high calorie foods is what she has to have to just keep her weight up. Because one of the things that happens is because all those mucosal linings are so filled, your body starts fighting them. It starts going to war with itself, going, no, we need to clear that. We need to get rid of that. We need to do that. So your body just burns a lot more calories. When she gets sick, if she gets the flu or cold or whatever, she's going to have 4,000 to 5,000 calories at those times. Because when you're sick, your body burns fewer calories. So she'll have to have all those. So even as an infant now, we're we're beginning to do different things to give her more calories. Eventually, we're going to have to melt sticks of butter in her oatmeal. That people hey, here's a little bowl of oatmeal with a stick of butter. And that's just going to be normal everyday life.
I was going to say, we try to eat keto, high protein and stuff like that. No, whole thing of butter, that's a whole other world.
No, that's not going to work for Pippa. I need to do keto, but she will never, ever be able to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, she won't have
So you were saying before May in particular, right? That's Cystic Fibrosis Awareness.
Yeah, May is Cystic Fibrosis Awareness Month. It's a month that I kind of call May a catch-all for whatever rare disease month it is, because I've seen a lot of different things. But yeah, so the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation has adopted May as CF Awareness Month, and so they host different fundraising events in May. Mostly coinciding with the end of school in parts of the country to try to just, before summer kicks off and getting everybody out and walking. So this Saturday is actually because of the COVID pandemic, we're still virtual and walk. It's still a little dangerous to get CF patients out in the world right now. So hopefully in the next few weeks and months it's not going to be the case. But it's going to be a virtual walk that we're participating in. We're able to raise a little bit of money to do that.
Where can people donate if they want to donate? Is there a good place to do that?
Yeah, so I believe the website is, if you go to fightcf.org/the Pip Rally, that'll get you to our team's website.
It is, yeah.
It's gonna be weird.
And we'll post the link.
I'm gonna actually double check
the link
that.
will be down in the description if anybody wants to donate.
Yeah, so if you go to cff.org/great strides and search the Pip Rally, that's gonna be clear. By cf.org. So,
we'll post the link.
yeah, I'll send you this direction.
Excellent.
Yes, absolutely.
Love it.
I'll do that.
Cool deal. Well, dude, we really appreciate your time. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Is there anything? I feel like
We got a lot of stuff
yeah.
like
If there's anything you want to talk about, just hang on.
Yeah, I think for any dad that's out there that is faced with because obviously the name is Ordinary Dad, and ordinary is broken in some respects. Every family deals with something where brokenness invades your family. There's no idyllic utopian family. I think one of the things that I want to leave guys with is this idea that you aren't ever going to step into something that you're going to feel good. But your equipment comes as you go through. And I think most guys are, there's fear of stepping into things. They're, what am I going to do? How am I going to step into this? How am I going to be the rock that my family needs me to be? How am I, even right now, I'm man, I got to mow my grass. And, I can't, am I able to get to that? And, and then the day that I set aside, inevitably it rains. Yeah. I'm I literally mowed my grass in pouring rain last week. So you're going to make it. As a dad, you're going to have moments where you feel inadequate and unequipped. And that's normal.
Yeah.
That's ordinary.
Yeah.
Every dad feels that. So just know that you're not alone, and know that there's great hope for you. But you need a community around you. You need people that are just as broken as you, speaking into your life and saying, "Dude, man, I'm here with you. Let's walk through this together, and we're gonna make it through. You're gonna be okay."
You just summed up pretty much.
That's what we're doing. Yeah.
This is
Exactly.
that's what you're doing. That's
Like
exactly
strength and focus, but also,
yeah.
and then we can go find time. That's good stuff.
So then, with this,
Yeah.
why don't we end this with Riley with a question that we've had and kind of thought it's a little fun. You don't have to go too far into it.
All right.
But the question is, as a parent, would you consider yourself thriving or surviving? And by that, what I mean is, are you just kind of someday? And let's be honest, we all survive at one point. Where it's just I'm going through motions. I'm hoping to get there.
Yeah.
But do you feel like I'm going out there I see it, dude. I see the pictures you post with Pippa and everything. And you guys do so much better and everything. I'd like to think you're definitely thriving with what's going on. But is that how you feel or do you feel like we're going through kind of motions? And,
Yeah, we're entering the thriving stage. She's sleeping all night now.
Yeah.
Which is
That's a thrive.
But for a long while, for the first several months, it was definitely just surviving. And it was tough. And I learned a statistic that most marriages suffer in the first several months of the baby. And I was like, whoa. It was crazy. It's 80% of marriages struggle in the first months.
Tension goes elsewhere.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. It's crazy.
And stress goes up.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
So we're beginning the process of thriving, and as the pandemic begins to lessen, as far as the sea of concerns are there, we're beginning to be able to do things with her too. You have been able to do so. It's beginning to get to the stage where it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely. I would encourage you. It sounds like you're thriving, man. In fact, the way that you just hit it head on. You know what I mean? She's gonna absolutely. She doesn't remember anything now.
I
parents really.
I hope that
I
it affects her. I hope that one of these days she looks back and goes, "Yeah, that was good."
That's not a doubt.
Well, Riley, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate it. What's the best way people can get in touch with you? If they want to, whether social or just
so I am on Facebook.
Sure.
Search Riley Prather. I'm not on it as much as I used to be. I'm on Instagram, Riley Prather. One of the cool things, if you want to follow Pippa's journey, she's on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
And her name is Salt and Pippa.
Nice. I like that.
Salt and Pippa.
So Salt and Pippa, I think it's salt.and.pippa. I think is.
We'll post this in the description.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
that's really cool.
Salt and Pippa, we just try to raise awareness.
Yeah.
And also, obviously, you're a pastor at Green Valley Crossing.
Green Valley Crossing.
Now, if anyone is, what time are your services at?
Right now, 10 a.m. on Sundays, 75 Railroad Street, Buckington.
And can people feel if they're further away, can you stream it online
They
too?
can stream it online, yeah.
What
Yeah.
church is not on the internet?
I know.
2020.
I know.
Yeah.
You gotta get the
God
info.
bless you.
Yeah, 10 a.m. at live.gvc.church. So we're also on Facebook.
That's awesome. Well, definitely check out Green Valley Crossing. Riley, thank you again for being here. Guys, we thank you for tuning in for us today. If you liked what went on here today, please like and subscribe. Comment down below on all your thoughts, and we'll see you guys next time.